Back on the Cover 3D Raider podcast, Dwayne Douglas here, along with Sean Oahu Raider. Don't forget to tune in later in the week on this same YouTube channel. I'll be talking to Ryan Holmes on the Put On Raiders podcast, and then all that good stuff there. So we got a lot of stuff coming up this week. So you don't want to miss it. The Raiders are hopefully trying to do a playoff push here, and this is where you feel it now. You feel it now because when the standings say, or when the the playoff
in the hunt.
In the hunt is no longer in the hunt now. It's basically you win these next two games and you are a playoff participant. It's just
decide your own fate.
Yeah, and that's all you can ask for. And yes, I mean, this would be if they beat the Giants, if they beat the Washington football team, if they beat who else is on that list? The Bengals, who they shut out for I was at that game and they shut them out for almost 3/4 of the game. There are a lot of games the Raiders let go, but if anything shows you, I guess other 8 wins, all of them are against teams with 7 wins or more. So maybe that's a sign that the two teams they got left have 7 wins or more here as they play the Colts, who have 9 and who are a game ahead of them in the standings here. As if you look at the AFC, thoughts about the Bronco game? I thought, hey, boom off the bat, the running game kind of got going again. I'm not sure. I was listening to Radio Nation Radio, and somebody was on there talking about, one of the hosts was talking about how the Raiders have struggled in pass protection. If you listen to the Raider, the Put On Raiders podcast, myself and Ryan Holmes, it's about league average. So that excuse is bye-bye. Like they've actually been the where they've really struggled is running the football, and it was good to see them kind of play a little smash mouth here against the Broncos.
Yeah, I mean, predominantly after halftime, right? It was not looking very favorable going in at half. Jacobs, they don't have Drake right now, and then they're starting to give Barber some carries and stuff to spell him. But it looked bad. Josh Jacobs had a terrible fumble. He comes back in the second half. The O-line, there's some credit due there, but he just looked like he was running a little bit more purpose. I'm still not wow or in awe. This is Josh Jacobs' only game surpassing 100 yards rushing. I'm glad he did. Don't get me wrong. I want to win. That's my fandom, but it's you want to see it continue that way. And he's a spicy person. He likes to talk about, we come out flat, we do this wrong, we need more energy. Well, it's good to see him put it on the line the second half, tear off some good runs. His vision looked a little better, and ball security has to be there. I mean, that fumble early in the that was a terrible fumble by him. The Broncos game, again, though, it's hard. I mean, the defense is something you have to highlight. I know we're playing Nick Mullins and then we're playing Drew Lock in consecutive back-to-back weeks, but if you look over the last 7 games or so, the Raiders have scored more than 17 points once, and that was the Cowboys overtime thriller game on Thanksgiving. So this offense, I don't know how they've won these games when they're losing the turnover margin. That doesn't happen often. So they're very, very fortunate. Again, there was 3 turnovers against Denver. So 1 Carr interception, which a great play by the defender, still yet an interception, a Carr fumble, and then a Josh Jacobs fumble. This Colts team don't even. I don't care how many players are out in COVID. Don't think that you're winning if you turn over the ball 3 times. So the Broncos win was much like the game before against the Browns. It was really trying to mitigate stopping their run game, trying to keep a bad backup quarterback from beating you, and putting enough together in the end to do it. We're very fortunate. Drew Lock was the quarterback for the Broncos. But what's different this year, Dwayne, is when I look at it, I keep saying, you know what? You can say we barely beat this team, we barely beat that, but the Raiders don't control the cards they're dealt of the opponent. I mean, The COVID rules are, I don't agree with them, but that's what they are. So I'm not going to sit here and be like, these wins don't overly impress me, but at the end of the day, you don't know what's going to happen each week. So you just have to beat the team that's in front of you. And that's no different this week. But for me on the Broncos game, it was sloppy. They need to keep learning. They need to keep getting better. But, they won. So I
Yeah.
don't know. There's teams around the league that go out and put out bad showings against team with a bunch of backups and hurt players. So whatever, it is what's on the table. I do think though, looking at the Broncos game, I just frustrated. I just the red zone or whatever it is. I mean, they're just you have to score some touchdowns here. I mean, it's not. I understand we're out Waller. He might be a limited player this week, but Renfro's a sensational player, and Moreau is coming into his own with this new increased role. And Say Jones. I mean, I mean, I'm not saying I know he's not great, but you know what? He gets open. He works well with Carr, and they just have to keep opening it up. Deshaun Jackson could use some more targets. I think. I know he's had some drops and issues, but just to close off on the Broncos game, you found a way to win. Wasn't pretty, but it's the AFC. The AFC is jumbled. If you look around the league, you can't say the Raiders are barely winning, but then look at all the other teams in the AFC that are barely winning and still in the hunt for a playoff berth. There's no large separation in the AFC. You could say the Bills, if you want, but and the Chiefs who have gotten better as the season have gone. But overall, if you're just trying to get a taste of the playoffs, it's now. It's now.
Yeah, I would say. So you mentioned Zay Jones. So Zay Jones now becoming a guy who we talked about it on. He needs to be coming to the forefront and on in breaking routes, slants, digs. Like those are the slants. Those are the plays that you really want him to really to take advantage of his body and his hands. I mean, he has pretty good hands too as well. I mean, I don't know if you caught that one slant that was just like a rocket right to the ground that he saved from an incompletion from Carr there. So good job by him as far as that goes. So I appreciate what he does as far as special teams and everything he does. But give him
good blocker too.
Good blocker too, a willing blocker as well. So give him what he does best. Like don't get mad when he can't crack a ball deep when that's not his thing. Like, you throw a deep ball to Deshaun Jackson, that's like his whole career. So
right,
he's been doing that forever. So he knows how to track a ball down, no problem. So I want to see him and Edwards on those in breaking routes. As far as listen, I know everybody knows that I am not a fan of Josh Jacobs. I am just not. I never have. Didn't want him to be drafted by the Raiders. I wanted Montez Sweat. I wanted as many defensive line possibilities as they possibly could get. I think running backs, as you see, look around the league, running backs. Running backs are not. I mean, last pick in the first round, maybe, but we all know about that part. But he had a good game. I guess he quote unquote ran with purpose. I love when they say that. I love or he ran angry. Like it took him the whole season to actually do that. That's annoying. But he needs to. He needs to continue that. So hopefully that continues. Because they could use that. And I think this is a week where, you're hearing whispers of positivity from Waller.
Yep.
So hopefully Waller gets a chance to play this week because in the middle of the field needs to be a factor here. I would love to see. I mean, I thought Carr did a good job of spreading the ball around like he usually does. But I thought, listen, Deshaun Jackson is not asking to be 8 catches, 300, 200 yards. Yeah. But when you ignore him for a game, that's a problem. Like, you didn't bring him over. Like he's probably in his head saying, I could have went somewhere else. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like he probably has a relationship with Mayock from Philly, whatever. And just said, hey, I come here, don't go anywhere else or whatever. He had 4 catches. He got involved. He got some first downs. I think every catch he made was a first down. They were giving him so much room because they didn't want to give up a big play. I mean, if they're going to give you 5, 6, 7 yards, I'll take it. Take it. Eat it. So to continue to do that, I think the one thing that I'll say, and as far as like wanting to what's my train of thought real quick, but as far as that goes, I mean, like sorry, defensively, the next head coach. Don't know who he's going to be. I hope it's an offensive head coach. because the way that this defensive unit
Yeah.
plays for this for this DC, I don't know, man. I kind of want to keep Gus Bradley, and I know that I know my partner is more on the defensive side of the ball. He wants to see my partner Ryan Holmes. He also talks about hey, I want to see more blitzing, stuff like that. And I understand. There's times where he just is a little too conservative, and just plays cover three. But have you ever seen a Raider defense hold opponents within under 20 points in the league where Sean, you can't touch a receiver?
Yeah, no, he's really, I mean, there's been games, I've seen statistics and things. Sometimes you just got to look at the overall picture, but with what he's working with the amount of players out and off with COVID and injuries and suspensions, they've had patchwork groups overperform, and that's a sign of coaching, because we know what talent is in the NFL. When you're playing a front seven that has three guys that can sack you on any given play. We know when there's people on the back end of the defense that will make you pay for being off with your timing on a pass. Yep. The Raiders do not have one overglorified special defender. You could argue between Yannick and Max, and you could put a good argument there for Denzel Perryman, who's lost some time. Luckily, he's back. But overall, I mean, this isn't they don't have like the same chess pieces that other elite defenses have. I know the opponents at times seem to be weaker because the quarterbacks are playing, but the job needs to get done. We've seen this in the past where we were playing bad quarterbacks and we were giving up their career high every time. Yes. It didn't matter how bad or good that quarterback was. He was going to put up his best single game performance in his NFL career playing us. That's what it was. So this
Nick
is
Mullins,
great.
Nick Mullins, right?
Yeah. No kidding. Right. You're right. Right. So a few years ago, it was Nick Mullins, setting records for being an undrafted free agent, starting in his first NFL game and doing whatever he did to us to Santa Clara on a Thursday night. But I agree with you, Dwayne. I do see that he'll probably be interviewed for the head coach of the Raiders. I don't know what he personally wants, but it'd be wise to bring in an offensive coordinator style head coach that would say, hey, I respect the job you've done, Gus. You've been in this league for a long time. You've overseen Super Bowl type defensive teams. I trust what you're doing. Let me get you a more proficient offense and let's work together. So that's kind of what I think is the wise thing. And I just think we need innovation on offense. It's you're just not scoring points, and you're just not. And some of the checks and the audibles, I don't know everything that's called in the huddle, but I really have some concerns there with the lack of innovation, with the lack of pre-snap motion and misdirection. And I mean, I was just tweeting this today, like someone brought up, and it was exactly what I was thinking. You've seen Cooper Kupp and Waddle line up as running backs in the backfield when they get to the red zone to throw defense off. They take a lot of eyes. Why can't we do that with Renfro? Why can't we take our best players, since we're down? Let's be honest, we don't have a wide receiver one. Renfro is that for us, but that by nature, he's not a wide receiver one. But I'm just saying, where's the innovation? Like, what you have on this roster, you have to maximize things a little bit more. Daniel Carlson, I mean, I've had people telling me the special teams doesn't really win games. I don't know what they're talking about. AJ Cole and Daniel Carlson are difference makers. So
and now that AJ,
we have them.
Yeah, and now that AJ is actually, now he's getting that Ray Guy on where he's dropping those things within the 10-yard line. That makes it even better. The only thing, the missing piece from this defensive unit is the turnovers. But as far as just like getting stops, I mean, like people keep bringing up the Trayvon Moehrig drop interception against the Washington football team. And I'm saying to myself, dude, do you realize that do you realize that they gave up a touchdown on the first drive and then Washington didn't score again until the fourth quarter? Like, I mean, come on, let's just deal with reality here, Raider Nation. Let's deal with reality as far as that goes. And I think don't apologize for these wins, because you remember when the Chiefs were barely beating all these teams and people saying, what's wrong with the Chiefs? What's wrong with the Chiefs? Ask that question now. Ask that question now.
Right.
Yeah, ask that question now.
It's a long season
right now.
There's long season. There's too many variables in the game, especially with the COVID. And it's just, you got to check a box and get a victory. If you want to pass judgment on how a win is or what, that's fine. You can pull a PFF number. You can tell me that you just beat a team that I don't really care. I think at the end of the day, right now, is the path to the playoffs. You just get in and win. And the defense, I give them a lot of credit, a lot of credit. And you
16
know
yards
what?
rushing.
And you're talking about some guys like
16
Faison,
yards.
and you're just talking about a group of patchwork guys that are just getting it done, like veteran, like Jefferson in there in the D line comes up with has a huge game.
Phylon was in the backfield all
Phylon.
day, stopping a run.
So you're just looking at all these names and realizing, okay, you know, they're coming to play. There's extra special intensity and effort there, and a sense of pride. So that gives me faith. The Colts game is going to be very interesting. They have beaten some really good football teams. They have a 9-6 record, one more win, one less loss than us, but they do have an impressive pedigree on the roster. We'll see who all suits up on that field Sunday. But I think regardless, I do like them playing in a dome on AstroTurf. The last time we did was a Cowboys game, and they scored over 30 points. I do think for whatever reason, that atmosphere, I think, can suit us. In Las Vegas, they play on real grass in a dome. I do like the AstroTurf stuff. I feel like they on the road, they've done pretty well when they're playing in that type of atmosphere. A good type of ground for guys like Deshaun Jackson to put his foot in the ground and get open downfield. So there's no weather variables. There's no, I like this kind of road matchup where they're at. And, you know, I mean, it's going to be stop Jonathan Taylor. It's what it's going to be. I mean, it's just, if Wentz, they just changed the NFL rules today. So, I mean, if Wentz is able to be unvaccinated and still test negative and play, he's not.
So is that the rule, or is it like
that is the rule?
That is the
so
rule.
now
Like
they've gone from
he has to he has to, he has
yep.
to, I thought he just had to be 5. I thought it was 5 weeks, 5 days.
It's
and
mandatory 10 days if you're unvaccinated and
it's
positive.
now it's 5 though.
Now you can be positive unvaccinated, but if you can get 2 negative tests in the same day, you can play. When he was announced COVID positive, I think it was about 1 p.m. Eastern time. So I don't know if they're going by hours or just calendar days, but I've seen some tweets out there that basically said as long as he has a COVID negative the day of the game, 2 of them or something, then he's good to go. So Wentz doesn't scare me, but he's pretty efficient. He's got about 25 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Carr's 20 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. So I mean, Carson, he does have a good run game to help him make the easy throws off play action, but he's been there. He's played in some games, and I mean, we were talking at the Colts. I mean, the real story that the Colts called Philip Rivers. I mean, this is like insane. What
I tweeted
that.
I tweeted that.
And they said the Saints called Drew Brees. They had Ian Book, freaking 4th rounder from Notre Dame. I watched him. He's not going to be an NFL guy, but I mean, just look around the league and it's a panic situation. We're in dire straits. So congruently with that, what I think is interesting is Mariota was out the last game because of COVID, and he's in the same quarterback room as Carr. So how did Carr not get exposed? So I'm kind of holding my breath. It does take 3 to 4 days after someone's exposed to test positive.
Yeah.
So what if it's Mariota's back, Carr's out? There's so much not to know.
The
I hope we don't get there.
The NFL and the Players Association agree to modify their joint COVID-19 protocols on Tuesday, cutting the standard isolation period after a positive test for asthmatic individuals from 10 days to 5 days, regardless of vaccination status, as reported by NFL Network's Tom Pelissero. All right, so an individual to clear protocol must meet other qualifications beyond the 5 days since their initial test is negative per all 32 teams. I like how it was so resolve individuals must clear by doctor in consultation ICS and NFL regulation requirements.
They're trying to make it like they're taking extra public health measures to make sure this new rule is safe, but in actuality, I mean, they're gonna play. I mean,
They're gonna play. I mean,
the
going
NFL.
to the game. I mean,
This is
I think everybody. I think honestly, I think this is gonna be this coming out today from the CDC is gonna allow the NFL and the Player Association to say everybody plays.
yep, yep. And
Regardless.
and they have the data to back that. I mean, a lot of these NFL players have zero symptoms. They're 3% body fat. They're healthy. They're in a safe age group to where COVID-19 is an absolute microscopic rare for people that type of health status to be hospitalized or seriously ill. So I think what's happening here is the NFL's product was diminishing. They knew it. They're moving games around. There's quarterbacks playing that just signed on a team 2 days ago. I mean, what's his name? Blake Bortles was in a Saints uniform on the sideline last night, and he wasn't even playing football. I mean, so they see that that's going to hurt their product. It is, in my opinion, these guys are safe, maybe from infecting elders and their family or something. But overall, there's nothing to point at that the NFL is really leveraging any major risk on these people because the symptoms are so mild. So it's going to be
the symptoms
interesting
for the new variant. The symptoms are small, are shorter,
very
right?
mild.
It's very, very
and
mild,
shorter,
and
easier
shorter,
spread, but much milder. I mean, some data saying it's almost nature's own booster. It's going to wipe out Delta. I'm not a scientist, but
I don't play one on TV either. I don't play one on TV either. But, so on that note, we wrapped up the Broncos. Let's take a quick break and then come back and wrap up and talk about what we expect from the Colts coming up here on the Cover 3 Deep Raider podcast as we cough our way to the next segment.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I've been sick for 2 weeks.